you gonna do this thing?
I will.
You gonna do that? Welcome to another edition of AV Rant. I'm Tom Andrew, and I'm here with
Rob H. This is AV Rant. It's your home theater and AV questions answered. I saw Justice League. I liked it. There, that's my review.
Did you like it like you liked Man of Steel? Did you like it like you like Suicide Squad? Or did you like it like Batman v Superman Dawn of Suck?
Okay, I liked it more than Man of Steel.
Okay.
Less than Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a huge variance there. Yes. Go on.
and yes, way more than Batman v Superman. If you were like, if Aquaman is your favorite character, if Cyborg is your favorite character, you're not going to be too happy. They're definitely the side characters. But if you like the Flash, there's lots of Flash, and he's probably best. Well, I wouldn't say he's the best part of the movie, but he's one of the best parts of the movie. Yeah. So I'm not going to dig it too much into it. It made $94 million, which apparently is a gigantic disappointment. Still
only in the
$94
movie
million.
industry can you be irritated that you made under $100 million
right.
in a weekend.
It still has Thanksgiving weekend coming up, which happy Thanksgiving everyone in the USA, by the way.
And you're gonna make a bajillion dollars on video sales and marketing, the streaming and whatever else stuff that you're gonna put out there. Come on.
And I will just say, for anyone who hasn't watched the How It Should Have Ended dubbed version of Batman v Superman, because they go in there with the fake mouths like Conan O'Brien and Arnold Schwarzenegger and redub Batman v Superman as like just as a straight recap. They're not even like doing a How It Should Have Ended, just a straight recap. Like that is the best way to summarize everything that has happened up until now in about 8 minutes. So check out How It Should Have Ended.
I like How It Should Have Ended. That's
they're good guys.
That's a kind of a go-to. Like I've got 8 minutes to kill or 4 minutes to kill. I'm gonna go watch some of that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yep, it is Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners in the United States, and to those of you not in the United States. If you have a Thanksgiving at some point, let's just roll that right into this. We are AV Rant. We answer your home theater and AV questions. To get your question answered, all you have to do is ask. You ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. You can go to www.avrant.com. Leave us a comment there. Facebook.com/AVRant Podcast. YouTube.com/C/AVRant. Twitter. Oh no, Rob. If you want to contact Rob directly, you can email him at rob@avrant.com. His Twitter's at First Reflect. I'm Tom at avrant.com. My Twitter is at avrant_Tom. We have a producer, Austin, who helps put together our question list. He mans the question at avrant.com email address. So that's who you're actually talking to when you send an email. He has a Twitter. His at Austin, TEN Pond. Austin's Twitter. He has his own podcast, the We Watch Movies podcast. It's a podcast. It's actually a podcast about nothing. It's just about nothing. It's that I don't know if there's supposed to be something, but when in my headphones, you can sometimes hear people breathing, but mostly it just seems to be silence with occasional. They're there. You can hear like the chairs squeak every once in a while.
It's that high audio dynamic range.
Yeah.
There's the one pop at 100 decibels and then silence.
I don't know. I don't get it. I think I don't have enough of a beard, perhaps, and I prefer fewer hops in my beers in order to get, if I liked hoppier beers, maybe I would get this, but I don't get it. It's too avant-garde for me. It's
fair enough.
Seems to be silence. Well, but not real silence. I don't know. I don't get it. All right. We're going to start off as we always do, thanking our listeners of the week. If you become a listener of the week, all you have to do is support the podcast in some way. Well, one way you can do it is go to www.avrant.com, click on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and leave us a PayPal donation. PayPal takes that. Your credit card, we never see any of it. We just see the money as it comes through, and they take their little cut. So we want to thank Andre, James, and Tom for going there and leaving us a PayPal donation. Thank you, Andre, James, and Tom.
Yeah, Andre, James, Tom, thank you so much for those donations. We appreciate it.
We just want to thank our patrons. These people have gone to patreon.com/AVRant
AVRant Podcast.
Yeah, okay, I can't remember what it is. Anyways, with this is basically another way of supporting the podcast. It automatically deducts from whatever account you set up to whatever amount of money you give us per month. So you basically give us some money. So last week we had 30 patrons. This week we have 33. So we want to thank all of them as well, specifically Andy, who said, I guess directly, that we are worth $1 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? So we're getting
about $8 a month, I think. Yeah, assuming 4 weeks a month.
Do we get a bonus because of the extra podcast? This couple podcasts we had?
No, because it's a monthly deduction. So whatever he set up.
All right. But anyways, well, thank you, Andy. I guess Tom and James also let us know that they did the Patreon thing. So.
Yeah, they did both. So a single donation, one-time donation via PayPal, and then Tom and James both signed up for Patreon as well. So thanks, guys, and thanks to Andy as well. I'm glad you think we're worth $1 an hour. That's pretty good. I like that.
My wife would be like, I don't know. I spent a lot of time with that guy. He doesn't seem to be worth $1 an hour to me. In all honesty, though, we really appreciate it, and that when those monies go into our coffers, and that they will someday be spent on things other than just hosting fees and internet and all that other stuff. So we thank you guys and appreciate it. And someday,
thank you to all our patrons.
We will live solely on that once we start, really. Kicking off here. If you can't support us financially, which is perfectly fine, if you find a way to support us, let us know what you've done. James, again, with a trifecta here, James went over to Accessories for Less when he bought a pair of KEF LS50 speakers and told them it was because of us. So thank you, James, for talking this up to Accessories for Less.
Yeah, James, thanks once again. Thanks for the trifecta there, for the hat trick. It's pretty nice.
That's right. And hopefully during this break here, I'm going to get these Atmos speakers hung, and I will.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you like the birds, but I figured you probably haven't tried them yet. So.
Oh my God, my kids! It's just they're so everywhere. They're just so everything. But luckily this week everything's shut down. But then they're home all the time. I can walk out of the room with two children sitting on the opposite ends of the house, and 4 minutes later, when I walk back in, they are screaming at each other like Star Trek talking distance. I'm like, what has happened? What is going on? He touched my computer. I'm like, first of all, you don't have a computer. All these computers are mine. Let's just go with the start. Let's start with that fact. And then it just snowballs downhill from there. And pretty soon everybody's in timeout. Anyways, I will try to hang them. I will try to get those speakers up. I will try to do it. I promise. Let's talk about news real quick. SVS is running a Black Friday sale. I guess it's special. It's not just on Black Friday, though, isn't it? Anyway,
it's already started.
Yeah, they've got stock of the discontinued, SB12 NSDs and PB12 NSDs. These models are now replaced by the SB2000 and PB2000, so they're kind of comparable as far as output and what you would expect.
Yeah, they're a slightly less output because they're a slightly lower wattage amplifier, slightly less extension because they're a teeny little bit smaller, and the woofer is changed as well in that 2000 series. So they're not quite the 2000 series, but they're pretty close. They're definitely a step up from the 1000 series. So if you were eyeing the 2000 series and going, they're still a little bit too expensive, you're getting these at or below the 1000 series price, and they're a significant step up.
Right. Yeah. This is what I'm running in here is the PC 12 NSD.
Right.
So that's what I've gotten here. So they are very capable subwoofers. During the special, the SB, the sealed box 12 NSD is $400, and the PB, the ported box 12 NSD, is $500, which is stupidly cheap.
So that is a great deal. Yeah,
I would be jumping on that if I needed the sub, and even if I just didn't need a sub, I had money for an extra sub because I might have one.
I'll get 8 of them. I'll put one literally in every corner, including the upper corners.
Just stack them. Just stack them on top. Just have 2 on top of each other in every corner. Some of our favorite TVs have some pretty big price drops for Black Friday sales, including the LG OLED and the Sony X900E series. So you want to keep a lookout for those.
Yeah.
Did you know where those were going to be discounted at? Because it doesn't say.
Well, the LGs are everywhere. everywhere is discounting those, including the 65-inch B7 is down to $2,300 now. So that's pretty enticing. So and the X900E series definitely discounted at Best Buy and Amazon. I'm not sure if it's everywhere, but those are two pretty big retailers. That's got a 65-incher down to $1,500 now in that X900E series from Sony. So yeah, those are enticing deals if that's what you had your eye on.
All right. Carl says that Apple has delayed the release of their HomePod speaker. It won't launch until early 2018 now. And I have already forgotten what that is, and I don't care to remember.
That's their answer to an Amazon Echo, except, of course, it's $350 because it's Apple. Yeah. And, so, okay, it's not coming out till 2018, so don't have to worry about comparing that for Christmas.
Right. Joel on Twitter, he says various Xbox reps have mentioned in the recent Xbox One S and One X Ultra HD Blu-ray player issues on Twitter. So they are listening and aware of the problems. HDR...
Yeah.
They mentioned them. Yeah, okay.
Well, no, there's more than that.
The HDR video output fix has already been released and seems to be working, although Vincent Teo tested it thoroughly and found it's still making some errors in the color decoding. And people with access to the alpha preview builds on the next updates are saying forthcoming updates include fixes for the Atmos issue. So they aren't ignoring audio, according to this. So good, that's good.
Yeah. So good to hear that they are responding, that the Atmos fix is on the way, which again really only affected LG televisions, and it did seem to affect the Samsung Atmos soundbar.
You might be getting an LG out of this Christmas.
You might be at the discounted price, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. All right, some comments here. Herb from Cross Spectrum Labs says he enjoyed our interview with Brent Butterworth, but he wanted to make a correction. Brent said that all condenser measurement microphones measure flat in the base, so there's much need for microphone calibration if you're only using it to measure subwoofers. Herb says that that's true if they're properly rear vented, but the USB mics have a capsule installed in the microphone body to house the necessary electronics. And that capsule creates a low frequency roll off in the measurements and otherwise messes with the low frequency measurements to some degree. So, you should still get one that's calibrated.
Yeah, I mean, within the interview, we all agreed for the minimal upcharge that Herb charges anyway, it's completely worth your while. Although, as Herb mentioned last week, if you're ordering a UMic 1 right now, there's going to be a delay because it's a production. It's not his fault. It's a production delay. Over in China, they're having some kind of production delay going on there. But regardless, it was a slight correction. But I didn't know that. That wasn't knowledge I had, so I couldn't say anything during the Brent Butterworth interview, which, by the way, has had a very positive response. So happy to see that because we were really happy with that interview. So
I'm glad. I actually just checked I was looking to see if there's a big spike on one of our downloads. So there's not. There's not. They're all basically the same. They all got the same amount there. Adam wanted to mention for anyone trying to get surround sound from their PC to their AV receiver via HDMI, he discovered that if you're just using the Intel integrated graphics and the HDMI port built in your motherboard, the stock Windows 10 drivers were not properly supporting bitstream output. Directly downloading the Intel graphics drivers from the Intel website immediately fixes this issue, according to him. So there you go.
I have noticed myself on PCs that I've built that if you go to Intel's website as opposed to just using, say, Windows Update for your drivers, that very often Intel does have updated drivers that for whatever reason are not coming through just the basic Windows Update. So it's never a bad idea to go over directly to Intel's website and check if they have drivers. So yeah, thanks, Adam.
So Tom K, he got his JVC RS540 projector installed. He's very happy with the contrast and black levels, but he wanted to warn that the HDR model required extensive calibration to look correct. So it's worth being able to measure or to hire a professional calibrator. For fun, he also totaled up how much he spent because of us.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently I made him spend a little under $1,000 for a PC 2000 subwoofer and a UMic 1.
Mm-hmm.
I did that. So that's how much I did.
That was all Tom on Tom.
I don't like how that sounded. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate the implication. And you and I will have. You're going to have to go through a sensitivity training course before you're allowed back on the podcast. Rob made him spend a little under $11,000 on the Ascend speakers and the JVC projector. So, who's the better? I don't know. I think you win. Does that mean you win or I win? I feel like I won.
Well, I mean, if I were a sales rep, I've won. Got him to spend more money.
But that's not what we do.
I know. We try to save people money.
We
but
do.
we also try to get people to buy products that'll last them a long time, that they'll be very happy with. So if that's the last $11,000 he ever spends, that's pretty good.
You keep talking about Tom on Tom, it probably will be. All right.
I did it once.
David on Twitter was clearing out some drawers and found an old Best Buy flyer. It's a good reminder of how far electronics have come sometimes. So if you're at YouTube and watching this, there is now an image on the screen, I hope, that shows what this is. But for those of you that are listening to the podcast, it's an advertisement for a Sony 32-inch high-definition Wega plasma widescreen TV monitor. Remember when we used to have to call them widescreens? All right. It's 32 inches. It's widescreen. They tell you the resolution because you can't know when HD was back then.
Well, except it's not even HD. It's 852 by 1024, which is not an HD resolution.
It's got a reverse 3:2 pull down. Which that's very important.
Hey, DVDs were your only source at this time, so it is kind of important.
I think everything has that, but anyway, it's got some audio stuff and whatever. Is it $5,000?
Yeah, $5,000. So I mean, if you were thinking that like $2,300 for a 65-inch OLED on sale, which by the way has Atmos processing built into it when it comes to the audio thing, if you're comparing all of that, it's like, man, that's still a lot of money, especially when you can get a 65-inch LCD for $1,000, under $1,000. The M series from Vizio is under $1,000. $5,000 for a 32-inch, not even really high definition, 852 by 1024. I mean, everything is being scaled. Nothing is being output at that resolution. Plus, that isn't even a widescreen resolution, but back then plasmas were using the rectangular pixels. They weren't square pixels. They were stretched sideways. They were rectangular. So that's how you... Yeah. So if you think things are expensive now, that's a good reminder. That's nice, David. I like that find.
Did you say reminder? Is that what you said? Reminder?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I meant reminder, but...
okay.
I'm speaking quickly.
You are, and that's fine. I mean, but I didn't know if that was a new thing, that was a word I was about to learn. Reminder.
Just a strange Canadian accent.
Well, and I'm okay with that too. I'm not going to hold that against you. I'm going to give you a hard time, but I'm not going to hold it against you. I mean, we've all got our things. Right?
Thanksgiving was last month.
That is also true. If you're Canadian,
we're weird up here.
Oh, it's perfectly fine. All right, let's get into the questions here. Matt has a Yamaha RX A3070 receiver in his theater room hooked up to an Epson 1080p projector with a Zone 2 HDMI feeding a 1080p TV in the family room. He's looking to upgrade the family room TV to something with 4K and HDR. He doesn't have any 4K sources yet, but suppose... So you put a UHD Blu-ray player in the theater so you can get Atmos off the 4K Blu-ray disc, but only... 1080p video for the projector. Could he still use the Zone 2 output to feed 4K and HDR to the new TV in the family room? The answer to that question, I am absolutely certain, is no. Not through the receiver itself, because the receiver is going to find whichever source. It's going to look at both of them and say, this one's 1080p, therefore everybody gets 1080p. We don't share.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's supposed to work is that if you do not turn on the main zone, right? You don't turn that on, and you only turn on Zone 2. Yeah. That theoretically, if you left the Ultra HD Blu-ray player at an auto setting, that it should be able to go through the Zone 2 only and detect that it's a 4K HDR display on the other side. But we've had several people now tell us that they've tried to use splitters, tell us that they've tried to use AV receivers that have two HDMI outputs for this various scenario, one 1080p display, one 4K display, and it just hasn't worked. So I don't know if I should say give it a try first, because theoretically it should work, but it just doesn't seem to. So what I will tell you is that if you do try it and it does not work, the device that would fix this for you is the HD Fury linker.
That's like $250, isn't it?
No, it's not that. It's 170, which is still kind of pricey. Yeah. But it's 179. Sorry, $180. So the linker is a little bit strange because it's actually one HDMI input and two HDMI outputs. Mm-hmm. But what it's doing there is one of those outputs gets downscaled to 1080p SDR, of course, and the other one allows through 4K HDR. So it's a splitter, but it's a splitter with a scaling engine on one of its 2 HDMI outputs. So in that scenario, you would actually just plug your 4K Blu-ray player into your AV receiver. The AV receiver's output would feed the linker, and then the linker's 1080p output would feed your projector, and its 4K pass-through would feed your 4K TV in the other room. That'll work, but it's a $180 add-on. So
yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, if he was going to upgrade his projector, I would just say buy another TV as well. But he's not.
right.
The projector is the cost factor here. He's sticking with the 1080p projector. So yeah, I think this kind of makes sense for me. I hate spending $170 on something that literally is only to fix a problem that's a stupid problem that I shouldn't be having in the first place. But if you were buying a 4K projector, I would say $170 for this thing, you could probably spend double that and replace your TV, you know, in your family room, depending on which TV that you've got. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's got a 65, 75-inch TV in there, in which case, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't say what size the TV is. So I'm thinking it's a smaller one. You could probably get away with something like that. But yeah, I'm going to have to agree that the splitter here is the way to go. Try it. Buy the receiver. Hook everything up. Oh, I guess he's already got the receiver. Buy the TV. Hook everything up. Then see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I say, theoretically it should work, but it just.
I mean, just remember as well that there's no reason why you have, even though the main zone is in one place and other zones in something else. I don't know. You can switch which one's on zone 1 versus zone 2 to see if that makes a difference too. I don't know if it will, but it could. So there's other options there too. Just because your zone 2. Just because your family room is the zone 2 because it's further away, I mean, you can still make that zone 1.
Now, what I will say is if you're ever trying to use the projector and that 4K TV simultaneously, you definitely need the linker. If you're never using them simultaneously, you could just go into the Ultra HD Blu-ray player's menus, setup menus, and manually set it to 1080p when you're using the projector, and then manually set it to 4K when you're using the 4K TV, but you're still going through the AV receiver, so I'm still not sure if that's going to work.
Yeah, you might end up with the receiver saying nope.
Yeah, you might end up with it saying, I'm not going to send this 4K signal through because you've got a 1080p projector connected to me, even though it isn't turned on. Yeah, I have my doubts that linker will solve them if that's the issue.
So his theater system is 7.2.4 with the rear Atmos speakers powered by a separate 2-channel amp. He has an 8-channel amp that he's not using for anything. We've mentioned that on receivers, the power supply is the biggest limiting factor to power output. So would there be any benefit to using the 8-channel amp to power the surround backs, and the 4 Atmos channels, leaving the Yamaha with more power to drive the mains and center? Would he hear a difference? Now, the first question is, could he do this? And the answer is yes. For sure. I mean, there's no doubt. Now, will you hear a difference? The answer is, probably not. It would be my guess. But I don't know how big your room is and what speakers you have and how far away you're sitting from them and all of those other things. But my guess would be you're not going to notice a difference, or not an appreciable one. And it's going to be because if you were having problems with power in your home theater, you wouldn't be asking the question. You'll be asking, why does this happen when, why do I hear this whenever it gets why can I not?
Why is my AV receiver super hot?
Oh, right. Yeah. Or super hot, or turning off after, an hour and a half of doing a movie, something like that. So I'm guessing the answer to the second part is, would you hear a difference? No, but could you do it? Yeah, sure. You got an 8-channel amp sitting around and you want to use it? Knock it out, dude.
I'm assuming the reason he's asking is it's probably a bit of a hassle. Maybe things are in a rack and he's going to have to pull things out and swivel things around and move cables around, all that kind of stuff. I mean, but yeah, you can absolutely do this. I agree that the chances that you're going to really notice a change in the sound, pretty low, pretty low that's going to be the case. But AV receiver is... The power rating that they give is actually only 2 channels driven simultaneously, not all 11 driven simultaneously. So, you would have some extra headroom available for your mains and center this way. Whether you'll hear it, highly questionable.
Yeah. I would probably... It would be, for me, personally, it would be such a toss-up between my unwillingness to do things.
Right.
And... my desire to make use of something that I have paid money for. there would be like a warring fact. Eventually, I would hook up the amp. Would definitely happen, but it would take months. I would like one day I would find all the RCA cables I needed. I'd be like, okay, these are all the cables I need. All right, now I'll put them here, and then I'll do it later. And then I get the amp. I put the amp on top of the cables, and then I get, I mean, it would slowly stack up until my wife said, "What is all that crap in the corner?" I'm like, "I'm going to put the amp in there someday." Well, when you do it, I'm going to do it. Don't worry, I'm going to do it. And then 3 months later, it would get done. This is the man who still doesn't have Atmos speakers on the ceiling. So what are you going to do? David has a BenQ HT 2050 DLP projector. A little while back, you started noticing a slight discoloration. Oh, I remember this question. I read this one. This question makes me sad on the inside because I know. I'm sorry, David. I'm so sorry. All right. A little while back, you started noticing a slight discoloration in the upper right corner of the image. After some careful examination, you determined it wasn't a fault of the projector. Instead, it was being caused by a spider web inside of his projector. He tried cleaning the outside of the lens, vacuuming the air vents, and even removing the lamp and blew compressed air inside the body of the projector, but nothing has cleared up the spider web. Does he need to dismantle the case and wipe the inside of the lens? Maybe it's inside the lamp. Is there a way to fix this, or has a spider managed to kill his projector that he's hoping to use for another 2 years or so? I thought that he did something else and that it made it worse. And didn't he blow the compressed air in there, and then he got green blobs everywhere on his projector?
Oh, there was some extra blobbiness going on. Yeah.
So first of all, spider inside your projector. There's a lot of people having nightmares currently right now, but yeah, that's super annoying. And those green blobs that you experienced by blowing the compressed air in there, you blew dust inside the lens, basically.
Yeah.
And that is like nigh impossible. Every projector I've owned has had at least one green blob eventually. They all get them. It's very irritating. And the only time I see them is in the super, super dark moments of a movie. Usually I don't see them during the movie at all. I see them like as the movies come, the projector's powering up or the movie's turning on and it's a black screen. I'm like, oh, there it is, green blob. And it's just a little speck of dust. So is there a way to fix this? I actually called a installer person one time and about a green blob I had that was super annoying. And it happened because I had been futzing with it when it was on because it was overheating or something. So I took the filter out and I went and cleaned the filter. Then I put the filter back in, but I didn't turn the projector off because I had people over and they were watching the thing.
Yeah.
And then I suddenly had green blobs.
Yeah.
So I was not able to find anybody that was able to go in there and get those off or clean it in any way, or who was willing to do it. So I don't know if there's a way to fix it. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, the somewhat good news is that this being a DLP projector, the actual light engine, meaning, so you've got the lamp. The lamp is obviously removable and replaceable for when the lamp eventually burns out. But once that light goes through the aperture that then feeds into the prism that splits it into, or feeds it into where the color wheel is spinning, and that separates it into red, green, blue, and that it sequentially gets fired onto the DLP mirrors, and the mirrors reflect it into another aperture that goes out to your lens. So that whole section where the color wheel and the DLP chip are, that is sealed. Unlike an LCD projector where that actually can get air blown into it, which means that you can get dust on the actual imaging part of the projector in an LCD.
You're completely hosed. Yeah.
Which you're done. That is done, essentially. But the DLP, at least the most critical part of that projector, is sealed. So there's no way the spider got in there. That means wherever this little wisp of a spider web and now some dust creating green blobs, it has to be at either end of that light engine. It's either where the lamp is shining into the light engine or where the light engine is shining out and into the lens of the projector. Getting in between the light engine and the lens on the inside, that's like, I don't know what you're going to do. That's not something I'm certainly not going to tell you to try to do that. If it's the section where the lamp meets the light engine, maybe, but I don't know if you're going to be that lucky. I think it's probably where the light engine fires into the lens on the inside.
Your best bet, honestly, your best bet is to call some sort of local place, like every local place, and explain to them what happened. And because I remember the question his friend had told him to blow some compressed air in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that guy.
that was bad
That
advice.
guy was well-meaning, I hope, and
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
not nefarious in his suggestion, because that was not a good suggestion.
No, I mean, for solid state stuff with no moving parts,
It's
the
fine.
compressed air is fine, but I would not do it to projector.
No.
No.
So your best bet is try to get a professional to do this for you. And
Yeah.
please let me know if it works, because I got some projectors that I would love to have fixed in this.
Well, because honestly, my advice, if I had heard this, would have been see if you can track down someone who can do a lens replacement. Because in all likelihood, it's the lens.
Yeah.
Because like I say, the light engine's sealed, the lamp is replaceable and removable, so that could be cleaned. Inside there could be cleaned, not with compressed air, but it could be cleaned.
Yeah.
But it's in all likelihood it's the inside of the lens that caught this spiderweb, and I would have. Yeah, people do lens replacements on the projectors. That is something that can be done. Again, I wouldn't advise you to try to do it yourself, but definitely repair shops can replace lenses on projectors. Although with a projector of this price, I don't even know how cost effective that would. It'd still be less than buying a brand new one, but yeah, I think that's your best bet. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
So he tried searching for authorized RBH dealers, but he only found 2 within 100 miles, which seemed a bit shocking. He tried contacting both these dealers. One never responded. The other said they don't have any RBH speakers on hand, only special order. He knows you said to stay away from new audio video, but they seem like the only place to order RBH speakers online, so which they do. Could we maybe suggest an alternative for in-ceiling speakers? Yeah, you could, but okay. There are plenty of alternatives, and many of them are very good, but call RBH. Like, just straight up call them and say, listen, I want to listen to your speakers, but I can't because this is what I will bet dollars to donuts they're going to do something for you. Just call them, because they are the type of company that would totally do that. So he wants in-ceiling speakers, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Let me think. What have we been suggesting lately for in-ceiling speakers? In-ceiling speakers. We did the outdoor speaker place, because
the outdoor speaker depot, that's the MK650.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the only one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, those are $100 a pair. Yeah, he did mention his email. He'd like backer boxes, which I do recommend. Now, Outdoor Speaker Depot doesn't sell, bespoke backer boxes for the MK650, but the manual says they want about a cubic foot of air behind them. So 1 cubic foot wouldn't be difficult to construct a enclosure to go behind them. That is 1 cubic foot. So there you go. That's perfectly reasonable. $100 a pair, so definitely affordable. Usually when I'm recommending in-ceiling speakers, if it's not RBH, I point people to Kef, because I like Kef's in-ceiling speakers. They're very nice. However, they've recently just updated their in-ceiling speaker line, and they're not as affordable anymore. Because they have their CI series, and then they have their Q series, and then they have their R series, which line up with their regular floor standing speakers. And before, the CS or CI series was quite affordable, but now they've updated them. They've actually given them Uni-Q drivers, just like the other series. So the price has gone up. It's now $230 each. So $460 for a pair of the 6.5-inch entry-level series from Kef. So that's not nearly as affordable anymore. So the place I'm going to point you is AVRant, because AVRant Audio's Intimus i6 in-ceiling speakers are nice and affordable, sound very good. They don't have backer boxes. They, if I recall, wanted 2 cubic feet, which is a lot more air than 1 cubic foot, because remember, that's 2 feet in every direction.
Right.
So that's a much bigger enclosure, but that's basically what I mean. That's essentially an entire bay. If it were in a wall, that would be the whole bay would be 2 cubic feet. So they're almost saying don't have a backer box. But in a ceiling, it's usually, the joists are deeper than 3.5 inches. So 2 cubic feet behind those. But yeah, $300 for the pair of the Intimus L6 from AVRant. So that's a good alternative. Nice and neutral, easy to mount. That's where I'd point you.
All right. Is that the end of that question? It is. Dave decided to purchase a mini DSP 2x4. I don't know how else to say that. And a calibrated measurement microphone. But he also has a Yamaha CX-A5100 with the highest level of YPOW. And he has a separate Martin Logan Perfect bass kit. His subwoofers are a pair of Martin Logan Dynamo 1500X. How should he connect everything, and what order should he run all these measurement and room correction programs? I don't know exactly why he did this, but he has. So now here we are. I had to look up the Martin Logan Dynamo thing. I'm not Dynamo, the Perfect bass kit, because I hadn't.
Yeah, which is the same as the paradigm. It's
right. So it just takes a measurement or two, right? And then it applies some curves or something, some parametric EQ to the subwoofer. Is that what I'm gonna guess is happening with this thing?
Yeah, I mean it's what was that other one that the Odyssey box that used to be was the Velodynes, right?
Oh, the SMS one, yeah.
Right. So I mean this isn't Odyssey processing like that one was, but it's a very similar idea. You take multiple measurements.
No, that's a different one. The Velodyne was not Odyssey. You're thinking the SVS had an Odyssey box for a while.
Okay. Well, whoever it was, but it's a very similar idea. You take multiple measurements, it applies an EQ, and that's about it. that's what it's doing. So it's an automated version of what you're now wanting to do manually, which is to measure manually, create your own equalization curves, and apply them to your pair of subwoofers. So.
Right.
I would not, if you're going to have the manual measurements in the mini DSP in your signal chain, you don't need that Martin Logan perfect bass kit anymore. That is out. That is gone from your signal chain. There would be really no purpose for it in this setup anymore. So now really the question.
Yeah, the two ways that you can think about this is how much control do you want to have over what your bass sounds like in your room? Because if you want a lot of control, if you want all of the control, then you run the YPOW first.
Right.
And then you measure with the mini DSP and the calibrated microphone, and you tweak it from there.
Yep.
If instead you want to get you really want your subwoofers to be as flat and even as possible before they go into your YPOW. So your YPOW can do whatever its magic is, which you won't know what it is because you'll have like at that point 2 settings, maybe like flat and not flat or something, reference or something like that. I don't remember what they are. Then you could run it first, get your subwoofers looking pretty good in your room, and then run YPOW. I have a feeling you're going to want to do the former and not the latter, but those are basically your two options. The perfect bass kit, well, you got a stand out of it that you can use. That's what I looked at. That, like, the microphone stand. I was like, well, you can still use that, but the rest of it is sell it. I would sell it.
Sure.
I would sell it.
Yeah.
That's what I would.
Tom's got it exactly right. Whether you can certainly run YPOW first, and then you would have to make sure that all the test signals from Room EQ Wizard are being fed into your Yamaha AV receiver, because you want to make sure that it's going through the Yamaha's processing, coming out the subwoofer output, and then you're measuring what happens from there and correcting whatever happens from there in the mini DSP. That's one way to do it. The other is to use the mini DSP first to get everything even and uniform. And then when you run YPOW, it's essentially going, okay, I have one subwoofer to work with here, and it's going to do whatever YPOW does in the bass. I agree. You're probably going to want to do the YPOW first. I would say what you want to really do first is measure. Just measure. Don't worry about correcting at this point.
I'm going to say that. Yes.
Measure first, because what you really want to accomplish just with the measurements is getting the placement and the phase and the volume leveling all done just with the controls on the backs of your subwoofers, right? No other processing just yet, just the controls that are on the backs of the subwoofers and the placement of the two subwoofers in the room. You want to measure in all of your seats until you get curves that all go up in the same places and all go down in the same places. The closer they are to perfectly overlapping each other, the better. That's your goal. Once you've achieved that, then it kind of doesn't matter what order you do it in, because it's very uniform across all the seats.
I'm going to make
the two subs.
Another suggestion as well. I want you to measure without YPOW or anything else going on.
That's right.
Then I want you to use your perfect bass kit and your YPOW, and I want you to measure. Then I want you to take out the perfect bass kit, run YPOW just by itself, then measure. Then I want you to do the mini DSP at that point.
You might not even need the mini DSP at all. Yeah,
that's exactly what I think. Yes, yep. I think that you've got, upgrade IS or a desire to know, which is perfectly fine, and I completely understand it. I'm not judging you, but what I'm saying is, I think you were probably already. I don't want you to go through all this process and say, I don't notice a difference, or I think I notice a difference, which is code for I really want to notice a difference because I just spent a bunch of money on this stuff. So just do the measurements before, measurements after, without this mini DSP being in the system at all, to see how good it actually got. Because you may find out you don't need this thing. In
Yeah,
which
I mean,
case, you send it back.
it could also be entirely the case where there are only two places in his room where these subwoofers can realistically live, and when he measures, no matter what he does with the phase knobs on the back, he can't get it just right. So he needs to be able to independently EQ and all that. But the measurements are what is going to reveal that to you. So what we're saying is measure, measure, measure like crazy before doing any manipulation of the signal. Just using the controls that are on the backs of the subs, lots and lots of measurements. That's where to start.
Francis, this comes from Facebook. Francis wants to dip his toe into Atmos and DTSX, but he can't install speakers on or in his ceiling. And he's a big fan of bouncing sound off his ceiling either. As such, he's interested in SVS prime elevation speakers to create a 5.2.2 or 7.2.2 setup, but where should he place the prime elevation speakers? And should he call them front heights, top middles, top fronts? What? He sits just a little in front of and below his ceiling mounted projector, and the rest of his speakers are B&W M1 satellites. So he's got these itty-bitty speakers everywhere. We should be seeing some pictures here. If you're only going to have 2 speakers, then I would suggest going with middles, because I think you'll get the most bang for your buck out of that. But if you can go with 7.2.2, then why don't you go with 5.2.4 and do front heights and top middles? So 5.2.4 rather than 7.2.2. I don't know if he can. Maybe his receiver won't do it. But
yeah, I mean, the only question mark in my mind is, because I completely understand, he's in this space and going directly in the ceiling isn't really an option. Now I'm looking at that front wall, which I don't know if that's wallpaper or a fancy painted pattern, but I'm like, does he actually want, like, even just speaker mounts? Does he actually want to put any holes in that front wall? That's a question mark to me. Because certainly if you're doing 5.2.4, which I think is a very reasonable suggestion from Tom, you'd want 2 on the front wall as your front heights. And I don't know what's going on with that front wall. So if that front wall can't be touched, and I'm imagining the reason he's starting with 5.2.2 is maybe that's what his receiver can do right now, and he'd have to upgrade his receiver to do 9 or 11 speakers or whatever. So maybe he's
7.2. So
I mean,
that's 9 right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the AV receiver is right now, but if you are going to only start with the 2 overhead, I agree. I think partially because of that front wall, that just putting them on the side walls and calling them top middles would be a pretty good idea. Now he's over on when he's facing forward, what would be his right side. He's got this, sort of bump out of a wall. It's not a perfectly flat wall on the right side. So the question would be, would he put a top middle speaker that's on the side wall? Would it be on the farthest wall, the one that's right next to the window, meaning it's in front of that little bump out, or would he put it on the rear section that's closer to his projector? What would you say there?
Oh, I think I'd probably put it on the bump out.
On the bump out?
Yeah.
So which would mean it's uneven from side to side because his left side is flat.
Let's make it softer. I mean, that's all the AV receiver is going to do. It's just going to turn it down when you do the calibration. So I don't think that to me, that doesn't bother me that much.
Okay.
I mean, aesthetically, it looks kind of weird, but who cares? I'm doing the same thing because my top middle speakers are basically, one of them is going to be on the wall, and the other one's going to be on there's like maybe a foot and a half inset for the door.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically going to be right above the door, very close to being above the door. So I'm guessing that I'm going to have to put that there. So I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to cheat it all the way in or how I'm going to do it or whatever. But it's fine.
All right. So we're in agreement. If you're starting with just the 2, put them to your sides, call them top middles. If you end up going to 4 eventually, not sure what the situation is with that front wall, but you'd end up with front heights on your front wall and top middles on your side walls.
Yeah.
There.
Dre. This is guys from Toronto. All right. So there we go. Canadian. Dre is going to buy a townhouse early next year, and he'll be looking for one with a finished basement, part of which you can turn into a dedicated theater. The plan is to go for 5.1.4 at first, and eventually expand to 7.2.4. So what should he be looking for in the room itself? Ideal dimensions, best ceiling type for speaker installation. He's open to doing some construction in the future and make a real dedicated room. But for now, it will be used as is. A door. That, believe it or not, that for me was like the biggest factor in looking for a home theater. There's plenty of spaces that you can use to create a home theater, but having a dedicated room where you can close the door, even if it's non-optimal, is so much better than having a room that is open to all of the rest of the house. So the things I'm looking for, I mean, depends on right now. The last thing I would be thinking about is whether I'm going to go 7.2 or 5.2 or whatever. I'm worried about how much space I have. What does it have a door? And, where's it relation to the rest of the rooms in the house? Is it close to the master bedroom? Is it close to the kids' bedrooms? Is it, right underneath,
the stairwell?
Basement? Yeah, something like that. I mean, there's lots of things like that to consider. I don't think that worrying about speakers or the rest of that at this moment is all that important. I want to make sure I have enough space for the number of seats I'm going to put in there, that it has a door, and where is it in relation to everything else in the house. That's about all I would worry about. Everything else we can fix. Everything else we can fix.
I mean, if you have the option, something that's as close to a rectangle is nice, because the less excuse me, uneven in shape it is. Yeah, I know. I'm choking over here. The less uneven it is in shape, it's easier to predict what the base is going to do. But even that is not as important as having it enclosed. Enclosed is important.
Get that door, boy. Get that door. We're gonna let Rob drink something and cough maybe a little bit.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Yes. Well, he does his thing, and I'll read on. Anyways, he's leaning towards Paradigm Dreas. Paradigm for all the speakers. He knows what to expect from the Monitor 11, Center 3, and Surround 3 lines. But you can't find any reviews for the in-ceiling models. What do we think of the CI Home H65 or the Pro P65R? Which is the cheapest one? Because that's the one I think is the best one.
Right. So the Home, whatever it is, 65. The Home one is the less expensive one. Now,
I love that one. It's a great sound speaker. You should get that one.
In Canada, it's kind of grossly overpriced at $275 each.
Oh, totally not worth it.
And then the Pro P65 is like $350 each Canadian. Now, the Pro PR65, the reason you would consider it is because it uses the exact same drivers as the rest of the Monitor series, whereas the CI Home series uses less expensive plastic woofer titanium tweeter. No other speakers in their entire lineup use a titanium tweeter, so it's almost a little bit strange that it's so
They must
separate.
have some left over. They used to use titanium tweezers. Oh, I'm thinking one of the other Canadian companies.
Yeah, so it's a little bit odd. I mean, I guess that's their way of upselling you to the Pro series is, you actually get the same drivers as all the other speakers we make. So that's a little bit strange. Now, I certainly have no problem with their performance. Paradigm is excellent speakers. The Monitor series are great speakers if you like them, especially in Canada where it's easier to find them and that. So no beef about any of those choices. For Atmos, I'm not going to worry about it too much. If you want to keep everything Paradigm, I'd say even though the Home series is completely different drivers, still go with them because it's just not going to matter very much. Save the money. But I don't even know if I want you to spend that much. It seems grossly overpriced.
Well, I mean, if the options are one or the other, I'll go with the cheap one, whatever that one is.
Agreed.
But his next question is, since we've said that Atmos speakers don't have to timbre match the rest of the system, should he go with another brand? Yes.
Yeah.
The answer to your question, sir, is an emphatic yes. You should definitely go with a different brand. He's suggested RBH Prime Elevation, the SVS one, blah, blah, blah. Maximum budget for the Atmos speakers would be $1,500 Canadian. How many is that American? Is that like $1.50 or something? What is it?
It's like $1,000 American right now.
$1,000? No, you can do no. Don't spend that much.
That wouldn't be insane. I mean, like I say, those KEF ones now are like $230 each American, so that's about where it's coming in. Now, that's not that far off the mark. If you go to kefstore.ca, which is the equivalent of kefdirect.com. So in America, it's kefdirect.com. In Canada, it's kefstore.ca. That CI 160 series that they have now is $275 each, exactly the same price as Paradigm's entry-level one. So you're not saving any money by going KEF, you're just changing one out for another, although at least you get an aluminum tweeter that is also aluminum like the rest of the Monitor series, but they're not going to be any more of a timbre match because you're going from Paradigm to KEF, and they're different. I am tempted to point you towards Outdoor Speaker Depot, which you can get from Amazon Canada, Amazon.ca. You can get the Outdoor Speaker Depot one. Now, I couldn't find the MK650s there, but they do have the ICE 650s, which are pretty darn similar and grossly overpriced in Canada. They're like $200 for the pair, which $200 for the pair,
a lot better than
not so bad. It's just the fact that they're under $100 a pair in America.
Right.
That's what gives me a little bit of pause there, but it's a much better deal. So I'm very tempted to tell you to get the ICE 650s Outdoor Speaker Depot from Amazon Canada. That would probably be where I point you. Now, primecables.ca or primecables.com, sorry, I don't know why they're .com. They are Canadian. Primecables.com basically sells all of Monoprice's products here in Canada with free Canadian shipping. So you could get their Caliber series 6.5 inches. Now, again, they're $100 a pair in Canada, which sounds pretty reasonable, except that they're $40 a pair in America. So
I have a hard time with those Monoprice.
I know
they're just too cheap.
They're
too cheap to. Every bone in my body says they've got to be garbage, and they're probably fine, but. I think
if you're doing just distributed audio and you want to buy 20 speakers to put throughout your house, I go for it.
I would totally go for that.
Totally fine for that. The Outdoor Speaker Depot ones are a little nicer. They definitely have a nicer tweeter. Yeah, I mean, $200 a pair, pretty reasonable. It's just when you compare them to the American price, that's the only thing that makes me go, why? But yeah, that's where I would have to point you right now.
I have no problems if you want to look at RBH or any of the other main.
Getting RBH in Canada is like next to impossible, man.
Yeah. So, but the Prime Elevation speakers, and this is coming from a place of love. They are a great speaker. They're a great speaker, but they are in almost every context other than front heights and rear heights. They are a
compromise.
Basically, yeah, they're a compromise. You would rather have them over your head if you can. That's sort of the gold standard here. And if we can get them over your head in ceiling and you're doing a dedicated room, then you should do that. So while I would normally have no problems with you ordering the Prime Elevation speakers, and you still could do that if you decided to do front heights, I think that I would steer you towards almost any of these in-ceiling speaker options that you can get your hands on.
Yeah, I will also say Aperion does ship to Canada. It's not free, but they do ship to Canada. So Aperion would be a very good choice here. Again, those Intimus IC or i6 in-ceiling speakers that they sell. Now, those are $300 per pair American, and they would charge you in American dollars. So you'd just be paying the conversion rate. So that is more expensive than getting the Outdoor Speaker Depot ones from Amazon Canada, but less expensive than either the Paradigm or the KEF option. So if you're just like, I want something that's not Outdoor Speaker Depot, but less expensive than Paradigm or KEF, I would order directly from Aperion.
There you go. Aiden is considering replacing his Klipsch RB81 bookshelves and RC62 center with SVS Ultra bookshelves and an Ultra center. If he does, these are, first of all, this Klipsch, these are the reference.
So I believe that's the reference series. Yeah, which, I mean, their lineup is strange, right? Because reference is actually the lowest, because there's reference and then reference premier, and then reference 2 is above that. So even though they call it reference, it's like their entry-level series. I think those are the ones that we're looking at here, yeah.
So he asks if he does, will he need more Ultra series speakers for the surrounds or the Prime bookshelves be good enough? His room is 16 by 12 and he's sitting 10.5 feet from his screen. First of all, you should call SVS and ask them this question before you ask us. Then you should ask us. You should definitely ask us. But you should also ask them, because they will give you the straight dope on their speakers most of the time. I don't believe that you would need, for maybe surrounds, but probably not. I think that you could go with the Prime bookshelf speakers for your surrounds.
I would totally tell you to get the Prime series for everything that isn't your front three. I would absolutely tell you to do that. Save some money there. The Ultra series up front as your front three. I think that's a worthwhile expenditure. I think that is an audible, worthwhile, money well spent thing to do. For everywhere else, save some money, go the Prime series.
So he says he's got 4.5 feet of space behind his seats. Does that enough distance to make surround backs worth it? Mm-hmm. Technically, yes, but I don't think so. Okay. I don't think you're going to get that benefit that you think you're going to get. I've had less space than that behind my head, and the speakers actually made things worse. I've got more space right now, but my speakers are a little bit close together, and I so rarely notice anything happening back there. It, it's I really have a hard time recommending in a room this small having surround backs. I know Rob's not going to agree with me, but that's okay.
No, I'm just going to say it's a personal preference thing. It's really hard to say what you are going to really prefer and say is worthwhile, because some people are going to be like, yep, 100%. I think that was worthwhile having the surround backs. And other people are going to say, nope, didn't think it was worth it at all. Like in my own tiny little setup, I've tried both surround backs and having front wides, instead of surround backs. And I settled on having front wides. I preferred having front wides to having surround backs in my own setup. Now, if it were possible, I'd have both. I'd go ahead and have both because I'm insane. I'd have 15 speakers going if my AV receiver could process that many. But yeah, it's really tough to say. Yeah, you have enough space that I'm not going to say don't do it. Right? There are circumstances where I would say don't do it. You've got enough space that you could do it. Whether you'll think it's worth it, that's really going to be personal preference.
Yeah, before you run any cable, dude, I would just do it across the floor and put them on some stands or something.
Oh yeah, do it temporary first for sure. Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be worth it. Anyways, he's also thinking about Atmos. He asked, will the Prime satellites be good for ceiling mounting, or is there a better choice? I think they're fine.
Yeah, those would be great.
Good with that.
They're lightweight, they're small, they're perfect for that.
Yeah, lastly, he has a single rhythmic FV15 HP. HP is high power, right?
That was their largest single driver sub until the FV18 just came out recently, but previously it was their largest sub.
So he wants to go dual. He wants to have another sub. What do we suggest to pair it with outside of another one of these FV15 HP, which, by the way, way overpowered for this room? I think that the 2000 series. You know what? You should get one of these. The SVS subs that are on sale right now.
Oh, like a PB12 NSD.
Yeah, perfect.
A PB12 NSD would be absolutely fine to pair. Now, I don't know. Is this 16 by 12, but it's open to everything else in his house?
Well, we don't know.
We don't know. So
I'm assuming it has a door.
Yeah, if this is an enclosed 16 by 12 space, holy schlamoli, I would still say get a ported sub, because why not just get a ported sub? But any of the ported subs we recommend, like any of the ported subs in Rhythmic's lineup for sure in a 16 by 12 enclosed room would be 100% fine. But I don't know, maybe this is open to maybe he leaves his front door open and it's literally open to the rest of the world. We don't know. So if that's the case, if it's completely open to everything, you might actually want to get a second FV15 HP. But if this is an enclosed room, if you want to stick with Rhythmic, any of their ported subs, like right down to their least expensive one, would be completely fine in a 16 by 12 room. And yeah, if you want to go to another brand, that sale on the PB12 NSD is a great deal.
Yeah, that's what I would go with. Joel has four.
Just Joe? No L.
Joe?
Just Joe.
Oh, Jesus.
I was hearing an L.
I said L. That's why.
Okay.
You heard it because I said it. Joe has 4 JBL Synthesis HTPS 400 12-inch subwoofers, but the precision is such that 3 of them are across the front wall and 1 of them is at the midpoint of a sidewall. So he thinks the current bass sounds good, but not great. He feels as though he's lacking impact in the deepest bass. He's heard/felt better in other theaters. I wonder if he means other theaters, like home theaters, or other theaters.
I'm thinking home theaters. He didn't specifically, but I'm thinking that's what he meant.
All right, so what should he do to improve that? Reposition the current subs, get different subs, install an infinite baffle. Oh, God help us. Infinite baffle with dual 18-inch drivers in the storage area at the front of the room. The dedicated 19 by 21 by 9-foot room with 2 rows of seats. But it isn't a perfect rectangle. There's an additional 6x6 kitchenette in the right rear corner, a 6x5x5 storage area hidden behind his false wall at the front. So all told, it's a little over 4,000 cubic feet, and he hasn't yet installed the solid core door to the entryway. So at present, there's an opening to the stairs. Holy moly!
Yes, having that opening is a significant thing.
That is the problem. Do that
significant
first.
thing.
Do that first. Okay, I'm looking at this JBL thing just so that we know it. It's a rated frequency down plus or minus 3 dB is down to 28 hertz.
Yes.
So you might get 25 in room shoved in the corner. It's got 1,000-watt amp, 12-inch driver. It's sealed.
It's sealed. I mean, it wouldn't be off kilter to say these are about an SB1000.
Yes, these subs are too small for this room, I would say. In many ways, I think that you do need 2 new subs, but more than that, you need a door.
Yes, more than that, you need a door. Now, obviously, since he mentioned it, that is part of the plan. So it's not like he's unaware and doesn't want to put it. Like, that's part of the plan. I completely agree. Before anything else that you do, because he even asks later on, like, what should I do in my theater to take it to the next level? Put in a door. Put in a door.
Door.
That is number one advice we can possibly give you. And he already knows.
Is this the door podcast today? It's like everything's like, you need a door, dude. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put in a door. Then you're going to run whatever room correction stuff you got, and then you're going to listen again. Then you're going to reposition your subs into all 4 corners or all.
But is he ever going to get the full down to 20 hertz and lower?
No.
I mean, the subs, you can't boost or improve bass that isn't being produced.
I hear you, and I agree with you. But let's get him with good bass first, and then when he gets the low bass, because he is going to upgrade these subs, that is part of the plan. But we need to get him in his subs in his right positions first, so that he can hear what these subs can actually do. What I don't want him to do is scrap all these subs, buy 4 new subs, put them in the exact same place with a hole going out to the rest of the world, and then say, "Well, it doesn't sound that much different." Yeah, it doesn't sound much different. You need a door, and then let's do this step by step. Step 1, get a door. Step 2, listen. Step 3, reposition your subs. Step 4, listen again. Step 5, new subs. And you're going to get, what is this room again? 21 by 19? It's like 4,000 cubic feet?
Yeah, it's roughly 4,000 cubic feet we're dealing with,
yeah. Yeah, is that PC, is that the 2000 series subs? Or we got to go bigger than that? We got to go HSU, huh?
I was really going to suggest you go Power Sound Audio.
There we go.
You'll
have a lot of sub. Yeah, you'll have a lot of sub there.
I was like, honestly, I would point you to their 15V, which is a down firing. Like, if you like this cube look, now this is taking the cubes you have. Okay, put all of the cubes that you have together, and then imagine that they're twice the height, right? So imagine you had 8 of your current subs, and you put them all together to form a big cube out of 8 of your current subs.
It's the Voltron of subwoofers.
There's your 15V. Okay, that's the size I'm talking about. It is not a small sub, but 2 of those, 2 Power Sound Audio 15Vs, now you're going to be getting your 20 hertz bass and 4,000 cubic feet. And honestly, for a really reasonable price. I mean, they're under $1,000 each.
Yeah, that's cheap, dude.
So I mean, cheap. I would point you to those. I almost wouldn't point you to anything else. I mean, you want your room, he's going to be talking about this soon, but he wants his room like blacked out and everything. I'm like, those are totally just the black matte finish, lots of output. Just cubes. You hide them anywhere you want in the room. Like 2 of the 15Vs from Power Sound Audio.
All right. He's got a 10-foot wide 2.35 to 1 Stewart Film Screen Studio Tech 130 screen, acoustically transparent, and a JVC X550 projector. He made the front wall of his room black fabric. So I guess it's just hanging down? No, whatever. Anyways, the ceiling is white, the doors and the trims are white, the chairs are gray, and the rest of the room walls are tan, along with the tan carpet on the floor. What should he change or paint in order to get the maximum contrast and performance from his projection setup? Well, you can extend that fabric along the ceiling so that there is no reflection there. Right? You can just kind of black out the whole front of your room. I mean, you could black out the whole thing if you really wanted to, but
theoretically, you could literally black out everything. You can install black carpet, paint or cover the ceiling black, make all the walls black. You could do that. I don't know if
I don't think
want
you need
to
do all that. I think if you put like a trim of, maybe a couple of feet in from the front wall, so that, you're not seeing the white wall, directly above your screen.
Yeah, I mean, he's got these dark brown drapes on either side. There's a little bit of the tan wall exposed on either side, but he's got these dark brown drapes on either side.
This screen is already floating in the middle of this big black wall.
Right.
It's just there's only like a foot above it. Looks like maybe 18 above it. Just pull that fabric forward a little bit so that it's going on the wall a little bit more. Ceiling, I'm sorry,
On
a
the
little bit
ceiling.
more.
Yeah. So I mean,
And I think that'd
you've
be all
basically
right.
created a shadow box around your screen,
Yeah.
then including above it. That would be place number one to start. If you want to start going, I mean, painting isn't really expensive. It's a hassle, but it's not super expensive. So you could go to a more neutral tone. You go to Sherwin-Williams, you look up their gray screen paint, and then get whatever darkness of tint within that family of gray that you want. That would ensure that you have absolutely no color shift or anything going on from the walls tinging the color. But that's, I mean, from just the side walls and that, that's a pretty low impact. I mean, it's something maybe your colorimeter could measure, but you're not really going to see it. It's mostly about getting that front portion of your ceiling blacked out. That's mostly what you want to do here.
Yeah. So he's looked into professional video calibration for his projector and Odyssey Pro calibration for his Marantz AV7702 Mark II Pre-Pro. Will they really improve the video and audio quality enough, respectively, to justify the roughly $450 price for each of them? How much do doors cost again? Because I don't think they cost $450, right? Doors don't cost $450. Do they cost $450?
I don't know.
I don't think they cost.
I mean, solid core doors are more expensive than hollow core, but I don't think $450.
Oh, they're not filled with gold. They don't cost $450. So it's going to be, yeah. This is putting the cart way before the horse. Now, as far as the video calibration side of it, $450 seems awfully steep, though not outside the realm of possibility.
Oh, sure, yeah.
What was this projector again? I don't want to scroll up.
It's the JVC. It's the
right?
X550, which does do HDR and really could benefit from an HDR calibration. If you've never had a display professionally calibrated before, if this would be the first time doing it, that I would say is worthwhile. I wouldn't be against you haggling that price a little bit, because I agree that's a little on the high end.
That's the high end, yeah.
350, 400, I could see. 450 is a little bit high. So maybe you can haggle that price down, or just find a different professional calibrator who would do it for a little bit lower price. But I do think with the quality of projector you have, with the extent you've gone to, with the screen that you've got and all that, first get that portion of the ceiling blacked out, get the door installed first, do those things way before, because otherwise what's the point? The Odyssey Pro calibration, I'm very iffy on. Very
especially
iffy.
Now you could just, with the Odyssey app and everything.
Well,
else.
you can't with this pre-pro.
I know that. But if you're going to spend $450 on the Odyssey on the calibration, then
I'd probably say to hold off on that. Take that money, spend it on a measurement microphone, so you know what your system is doing. Eventually, you're going to update that pre-pro anyway, so then you can do the manual adjustments instead of having it done by an installer or a pro. So I would say hold off on the Odyssey Pro. The video calibration, once you've done the other things to your room, I could give you a thumbs up on that. I think that would be worthwhile, especially for your HDR.
Door.
Yes.
Listen.
Door.
Move subs.
Ceiling.
Listen.
Yeah.
Buy new subs.
Huh.
Ceiling. You put the ceiling in there anywhere you want. That's like $10 a fabric or $20 a fabric or something. He says his only measurements are an EQ have been the automated Odyssey Multi-Q XC32 program. Should he consider an outboard EQ solution? Should he get some measurement equipment? If so, which microphone and software? Well, again, this is the cart way before the horse, and door. We're gonna just keep saying that until it gets all the way home. But because you're going to be doing so many other things first, Herb over at Cross Spectrum Labs have plenty of time to get his U-Mic 1s back in. So
wouldn't be bad to put an order in, and then you're on the wait list.
Yeah, it's not that much, like less than $100. So that's the mic you want. The Room EQ Wizard is free, and you're on your way. But we're still. This is something you're not going to be doing right now. You're going to be doing the other stuff first.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the outboard EQ solution. I don't think you're going to need it. I really don't.
I don't think so either. No.
So, yeah, but I mean, like, if you were considering spending $450 on Odyssey Pro calibration, take a fraction of that, less than a quarter of that, and get a calibrated U-Mic 1, and the Room EQ software is free. So absolutely it's worth your while to play around with manual measurements. That's completely worth your while. I don't think you need the outboard EQ.
He'd like to put his rear row of seats on a riser. The plan at the moment is to make it 10 inches tall, solid rear and side supports with holes in the front support and elevated joists in the middle with insulation inside, so that the whole thing can act as a large bass trap. What are our thoughts on that?
Don't do the elevated joists.
So what is the elevated joist? I don't understand what that is.
That's when you want your riser to act as a resonator, like jeans.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Like what Gene did. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
That's a mess.
Don't do that.
Now, what I do agree with is make it so that air can move throughout that riser and have insulation.
Yeah, can't we just make it so the whole thing is open on the sides, right? And then cover the whole thing in we'll cover the sides at least in fabric, and then the inside with what you don't want is that the top part to vibrate.
Moving. Yeah, you don't want.
Yeah, you don't want that.
I would even go to the extent that this is me. If I were building a riser, I would put in cross braces, right? Like you do in a wall, right? For your fire stop, I would put in cross braces so that it's really stiff. I would fill about a third of it at the base with sand,
right?
So that it's really damped and deadened. Then I would have insulation, not necessarily filling all the rest of it. You don't have to completely fill the whole, what would be left 7 or 6 inch space. You don't have to completely fill that, but I would have insulation in there, and then I would have it so that air can move throughout the whole thing, so that be holes in each of the under joists and all that, so that air can move throughout it. I like the bass trap idea, but I want that thing inert. I want that thing damped and dead and not moving.
Make sure that top is securely secured. You don't want that thing to be vibrating at all. So, don't just all the screws, all of them.
Yep.
Just nail that thing down. You don't want it to vibrate. Believe me.
Line the base with plastic. You put sand in.
Yep. All right. So he has 2 Marantz MM8077.
That's the model number.
Door unlocked. Pat is coming over after. Oh God. I just got a note slid underneath my door, and I'm reading it from here.
Wow.
So,
breaking news.
Breaking news. If we don't finish this podcast on time, there's going to be a potentially very intoxicated person stumbling into this room to say hi to me. So anyways, he has 2 Marantz M80 whatever they are, 7-channel amplifiers. So he's got 14 channels of amplification on hand. His present 7.4.4 configuration uses 11 of them. How long until Denon Marantz support front wide channels again? Should you consider adding a second AV receiver so you can create a 9.4.4 setup? How much do doors cost again? Okay.
So if the rumors are to be believed, there is an AV 8804 pre-pro on its way to replace the 8802A. There is supposed to be a Denon X7400H on its way to replace the 7200WA. Those are the rumors, and those are rumored to have 13 amplifiers or 13 channels, so 13 channel processing in the AV8804, 13 amplifiers built into the 7704 or something like that. Maybe it's 11 amps built in and 2 extra channels, but 13 channel processing is the point. That's the rumor. Now, do those include front wides? I don't know, because maybe they're thinking 7.2.6, which
that's
is also
what I would
13.
think they were thinking. Yeah, 7.2.6.
That's very possible. Now, Emotiva, with their RMC1, which may or may not ever see the light of day, they came out and flatly said, yeah, we're going to do 9.1.6, because before they showed 7.3.6, which was a weird way to use 16 pre-outs, but they flat out said at CEDIA, yep, we're going to do 9.1.6 as long as Dolby gives us the software to do it. And that's what they say they're waiting on. So when will we see it again? Maybe fairly early in the new year, if those rumors are true, but I don't know if Denon and Marantz are going back to supporting front wides. It might only be 7.2.6 and not 9.2.4. So should you go ahead and add a second? Well, you could actually use the present pre-pro you have, because that does front wides and new stuff doesn't. So you could get something that's newer and then use the pre-pro you already have to create front wides. I mean, I'm not going to say don't do it, because it's something I would consider doing, but it's not a high priority. I can't say it's a high priority.
I would just wait till they come out with it, because those amplifier channels, it's not like they're going to go bad from disuse. So just
what I would tell you to do is try right now, if you have a pair of bookshelf speakers lying or surround somewhere that you can set up as your front wides, try 5.4, or sorry, Yeah, 5.4.4 with front wides, right? Like turn off your surround backs and turn on your front wides because your current pre-pro can do that. Give that a try, see how much you like the front wides. Like I said,
Yeah.
I opted to do exactly that. I opted to forgo surround backs so I could have front wides. So give front wides a try. If you love them, then yeah, maybe you do get a second AV receiver. Maybe.
So he asks, anything else he should do? Should he install a bass shaker and a seating riser? Absolutely not. Do not do that.
Especially if you're going to get the 2 power sound audio subs.
Don't do that. Add an Amazon Echo for voice control along with this Harmony Hub based system. Should he make the theater its own HVAC zone? What will take his theater to the next level? Buying those subs and buying a door will take your theater to the next level. Once you've done that, you'll be like, this is a completely different room right now. That is exactly what you're... Everything else we've been talking about, the stuff on the ceiling, the calibration, the video calibration, this other stuff, those are all going to be incremental things that you're going to notice. Not necessarily things that your other people are going to notice.
Yeah, small improvements, nothing transformative. Yeah.
You put those subs in, everyone's going to notice it.
Transformation,
that is going to be that's going to be the transformational thing. Do that first, and then after this transformation, we can discuss the next transformation. There's lots of stuff you could do. Nothing is going to be as transformative as adding those 2 subs.
I like the separate HVAC zone thing, though. I mean, if that's
I do too. I wish I had one in my house right now because I got to keep my door closed, and the rest of the house is freezing. And this room is I've got lights in here, and everything's heating up, and I'm sweating.
And if you want to be able to talk to your system, I mean, ask for an Echo for Christmas. That's a great Christmas gift someone could get.
$40 right now, and yes, but I will be 100% honest with you. It's just not there yet as far as what you want it to do, what you're expecting it to do, and what it does. As I was walking in here, as I was walking to this room, Alexa was like, "Oh, I couldn't understand what you were saying." I'm like, "That's because I wasn't talking to you, idiot. I'm just walking through this room. Stop being stupid." I like it. I use it all the time. I like it. Okay. I use it for listening to music and to ask questions to get questions answered. To when my friends were over, I'm like, "Hey, tell so-and-so they're dumb." And she's like, "I don't like talking like that," or whatever she says. That sort of thing. But I have a shopping list. It puts stuff on my shopping list. Every once in a while I look at my shopping list. I'm like, these are not words that I would have ever said, nor anybody else had said, and I don't understand what they mean. So it's not 100% yet. So don't expect that suddenly it's going to be like the computer on Star Wars. So just go in there with a little bit knowing what you're getting yourself into. Jim spent several hours moving his 2 Yamaha 10-inch subwoofers and taking measurements with it using his Cross Spectrums Labs calibrated UMIC 1 and Room EQ Wizard. He really cannot move where his TV and furniture are placed, so realistically, there are only 3 spots in this theater where subwoofers can go on either side of this TV or in the rear left corner. His room is not an enclosed rectangle, though. It has many openings to the kitchen, hallway, etc. He tried different subwoofer placements and took measurements at all 3 seats across his couch for each of them. But when he lined up all the measurements, he wasn't exactly sure which placement of subwoofers is really the best. Could we help him out by describing which set of his measurements are the best? He was shocked to see how poor the measurements looked with just a single subwoofer in the rear left corner, since this is where he had placed his single sub and that he had used for years. So
let's go through these.
Sub position 1, front left. So he's got this graph goes from 200 hertz down to 20 hertz. It's kind of flattish between, well, at least this green line looks pretty good. Well, the blue, that was kind of hard to see. The red line maybe looks pretty good from, well, I guess they're all about the same, but what are the different lines? I don't understand.
Those are 3 different seating positions. Those are the 3 seats across his couch. Yeah.
Okay, so they all look like you're getting very similar bass, except above 100 hertz, which nobody cares about. You got a bump
between 60 and 70 hertz, diverging.
There's it's boosted at 80 there, and there's between 60 and 70. There's a lot of difference there.
Yeah, between 60 and 70, one of the seats is pretty flat, one of them is going down, and one of them is going up. So in that particular range, it's quite a bit of diversion. And then down around 45 hertz or so, there's a big peak, but it's in all the positions. All the positions have a big peak around 45 hertz.
The next one, the front left and front right positions. I guess
Mm-hmm.
this is 2 subs together.
Yeah. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
first one was a single sub in the front left position. This is 2 subs, one on the left of his TV, one on the right of his TV.
All right. So between 80 hertz and lower, it looks like we got a little bit closer together all the way around.
Yeah. Everything goes up in the same place. Everything goes down in the same place. Not by the exact same amount, but
Except for
wherever it goes up, all 3 seats are going up. Wherever it goes down, all 3
purple
seats are going
trace there. It looks like we're shifted the big hump at the end from above around 45 hertz down to about 39 hertz. So there's a little bit of a shift there.
There's a bit of a shift, but it's still, in general, that whole region is very boosted. So,
right.
Yeah, all the ups and downs are similar. There's a little bit of shifting. Everything isn't the exact same amount. Above 100 hertz, they diverge quite a bit, but we're not too concerned above 100 hertz. So, yeah.
So the next one, we've got positions 1 and 3, front left and rear corner. Front left corner and rear corner. This one, we can see that there's some major divergence all over the place. This is the worst one by far.
Well, I mean,
just so
even here, the ups and downs are mostly happening in the same place, but they're grossly different amounts up and down. Yeah.
Right. So what we're looking for here is lines that overlap as much as possible.
That's right.
We want them to be as similar as possible. So he's right. There are the ups and downs are all about the same, which actually, even though these are very, very different as far as how strong they are, this is something that your AV receiver can work with. This is something that Odyssey can work with.
You could, yeah, but you're still going to have
not the best
differences in amplitude from seat to seat, for sure.
So he took the front right and rear corner as the next one. And this one is a train wreck. Here's would be the best way. We've got the green trace is like going counter to most everything else that's going on from about 70 hertz and up. It seems to be almost completely opposite. And then the dip at 44.
That is in a null, sir.
Yeah, that is what the null looks like. We're talking, what is the difference? Something like almost 25 dB difference between that and like the next seat over. 25 decibels difference in loudness between one seat and another. Can you imagine?
That's
what one person
that's in the hit you in the chest zone. So one person is like, oh yeah, I'm getting hit in the chest. The other person's like, I didn't feel a darn thing. Yeah, that's
next one. We've got sub position 3. This is just one sub, it looks like, just in the rear corner. And
doggy.
That's not good. That's how
I would say that's the worst one. To me,
that is the worst one.
Nothing is overlapping. One place goes up, another one. I mean, look at 40 hertz. Look at one seat is peaking, and another one is troughing. I mean, that is the worst.
Yes, it's the worst. So let's scroll back. Let's back up here. And
so really, this is between 1 and 2. Let's be honest here. This is between 1 and 2.
Yeah. So I kind of like 2, to be honest with you.
I like so what we're focusing on here is that, look, none of them perfectly overlap. And if you're looking at trace number 1, which is in this case is just a single sub to the left of his TV, and there the lines overlap pretty well, but there's this section between 60 and 70 hertz where one seat is going up, one seat is kind of flat, and one seat is going down. What can your equalization do there? Nothing. Because if you make the one that's too loud quieter, then the one that's already too quiet got even quieter. And if you make the one that's too quiet louder, then the one that's already too loud got even louder. So if you go over to the 2 subs, now in this case, it's 1 sub to the left of his TV, 1 sub to the right. And people are going to say, but you always say diagonally opposite corners. Don't have both subs at the front of your room. You're always saying that. But this room has openings. This room has many openings, which means that we have to look at the whole space. And if you look at the whole space, they're actually kind of on the left and the right of the middle of the whole space, because there's the whole kitchen that's in front of this television stand, and there's the hallway to the right and all that. So this isn't a case of a rectangle where both subs are at the front of the room. This is an open space where both subs happen to be beside the TV. So that's the explanation for why that would be the case. Yeah, so if we look at sub to the left of his TV, sub to the right of his TV, even though they don't perfectly overlap, everywhere it goes up, all seats go up. Everywhere it goes down, all seats go down. Yes, around 40 and 45 hertz, it's shifted a little, but you can EQ that whole range, which is a big hump, to even that out pretty darn well.
Right. So if you look at, even with a parametric EQ, because remember, you can't boost. You can't really boost nulls.
I mean, a little bit. You get like if it's a decibel and a half down, by all means, you can boost that. Yeah.
But if we tried to make everything 80 hertz and lower, if we tried to make it all at read right at 80 dB, we could.
Yeah.
We could just cut the volume on each of these frequencies until everything was absolutely dead flat out to 28 or 27.
And I mean, yes, from seat to seat, you might get 3 or 4 decibels difference. That's kind of unavoidable, but that compared to 25 decibels difference, like, you know, like one of those was going to be, you know, I mean, that's,
you can see how we can flatten this out really easily. Yeah. And even with just a parametric EQ, and we would have a tremendous difference in the linearity of what's going on here. And what you're going to find is this is going to sound so much better. So yes, that is what we're looking for. And I think this is really important.
2 subs, still much better than 1.
Yeah. All right. Daniel on Facebook, he asked, where do we recommend shopping online for speakers? Well, almost every speaker brand that we recommend is found online. You know, so
we are internet direct fans for the most part.
We are, and I mean, it's not that you can't find deals in brick and mortar places, but generally you can find them cheaper online. Anyways, so if you are looking for brick and mortar, you just have to go to brick and mortar like specialty shops, I believe, and ask for, you know, you got any like return stuff that you guys are selling? Discontinued? I mean, you got anything on the sale?
But he wants to shop online.
But if you want to shop online, I mean, obviously, my speakers are Appearing Audio. You go directly to their website. Yours are Ascend Acoustics. You go directly to their website. There's accessories for less, where we get KEF speakers and the Focals and some of the other stuff.
They're selling Pioneer now too, so the Pioneer speakers are available at Accessories for Less.
That's fantastic. I mean, but there's lots of manufacturers that we recommend. Subwoofers, SVS, HSU, Rhythmic, Power Sound Audio, all online. Right?
Yep.
What's just one of the other ones I'm thinking of? Oh, it just fell out of my head.
Like NHT?
NHT? I did not think of them, but that's a good one too. Most of these speaker manufacturers have an online presence these days. P-Tech seems to be dead, so I don't know if you can get those.
Well, so you can get the RBH Impression series, but we're waiting for that mysterious second generation to arrive.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't think of. The one with all the stupid tweeters that I don't like, that people like, that are loud.
Oh, Tecton?
Yes, Tecton, and the other one that looks just like him. There's another one that another manufacturer.
I don't know anyone else who looks like Tecton.
Oh, I'm Phil.
There's JTR.
Phil.
Philharmonic. Yeah,
that's it.
They don't look like Tecton.
No, I just remembering them incorrectly. Anyways, that's what comes to my mind.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of repeat that, but I put them sort of in categories. So Aperion, SVS, and RSL. That's another one. Those are 3 companies who offer two-way shipping, free two-way shipping. So those are 3 companies. It's if you just want to audition stuff, it's great because if you send them back, it doesn't cost you a thing. They pay shipping both ways. Ascend, Philharmonic, and Sulk. Those are all places that use the ribbon tweeters that I really like, the RAL ribbon tweeters.
Okay.
So Ascend, Philharmonic, and Sulk, those are all online companies. HSU and Power Sound Audio, if you want high efficiency stuff, as well as inexpensive subwoofers that can play really, really loud, those are good places to go. Rhythmic is in there too for subs. NHT, RBH, and ELAC, those are all very nice, neutral.
ELAC.
Yeah, well-designed speakers. Those are the great places to look. Accessories for Less, go there to get your AV receiver. No reason to go anywhere else. That's where you want to go to get your AV receiver. But like I said, they sell Pioneer, Focal, KEF. KEF also sells themselves at KEF Direct. So if you want KEF, you can get it straight from KEF. If you know the speakers you want, it's never a bad idea to just type it into Amazon, because often they have the best price. And it's very easy to shop with Amazon. Then Outdoor Speaker Depot and Monoprice. They both sell speakers, including in ceilings and in walls that are very inexpensive. And then, Tecton and JTR. Those are a couple other places you could look. That's it. I mean, that's got to give you a start. If you're like, where should I shop online for speakers? That's got to be a start.
Google. Google. First place to go. Dan is renting, so big changes to his room or punching big holes in the ceiling for Atmos are definitely not options. His theater is 14 feet by 12.5 feet by by 8 feet. But there's an entryway at the rear left with no door. Yay. The door to the it's the Door podcast.
It is.
We are the Doors. I'm the Walrus. Anyways, that's something, not that. I got that all mixed up. The door to the basement is in the front right corner, and there's a door leading outside. Does that have a door? As well as a large window taking up most of the right side wall. The floor is uncarpeted. What? Is it tile, or is it just like raw concrete down there?
Well, it's laminate probably. It's probably laminate floor. If it's a rental, it's probably a laminate floor.
So he's got about 1 foot of space behind his seats, and his front left, center right speakers are about 11 feet in front of him. He's using DefTech 9020 towers along with their upward firing Atmos modules. His sensor is an Energy CC10, and his surround speakers are Orb. Oh, I haven't heard that name in forever.
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah.
I like the Orb speakers. Those are cute. It's my very first speaker review was Orb speakers, I think. He has 4 other Energy speakers and 6 more Orbs on hand that he isn't using right now. His subwoofer is a Boston Acoustics VR500. There's really no acoustic treatments to speak of, so he plans on adding rugs. He plans on adding rugs or carpeting and thick drapes over the large windows. He's not happy with his current sound quality, though. I guess not. The upward firing Atmos modules don't seem to be doing anything. He'd like to improve most is his sense of surround and overhead effects. He'd like our help in telling him where he should focus. He's open to upgrading his speakers, upgrading his receivers, currently an Onkyo TX or 636, which is quite old, I think, and making simple changes to the room, like aforementioned rugs and drapes. Can we help him out? You, sir, need room treatments, like big time.
Yeah, your room is the limiting factor here. I mean, that might not be the news you want to hear, but
no, it's not.
The limiting factor.
The Atmos speakers bouncing off the ceiling are bouncing off of everything else too, and there's so much sound bouncing.
And that's what's destroying your surround field as well, because everything's just reflecting and echoing around this room. It's a bit of a mess.
Thick carpet. Yeah. Pad underneath it if you can. Build yourself some room treatments. Do that.
You can get the ones that are freestanding or on stands. You know, I completely understand being in a rental. I can't put holes in the walls. I can't mount stuff. I can't, all that stuff. But stuff that's freestanding, they can't stop you from doing stuff that's freestanding.
I have my 4-inch thick panel. That's wood frame, a 1 by whatever it is wood frame, hanging on the wall with one of those picture hangers that just look like a big C. And you poke a itty bitty hole in the wall, and it goes through, and it spins around, and it holds it. It's sitting right there. That's all it's holding it up. Okay, I think it hold like 60 pounds or something. This thing weighs about 10.
Yeah, any rental usually allows you to hang pictures. So
you can hang pictures. You can hang room treatments. Yeah. That's all it is a picture hanger.
But you can still get the freestanding ones too. So
those are more expensive. So don't do that. But you can. So room treatments, you need lots, like as much as you can possibly fit in here. You want corner traps. You want at least
back wall. Definitely your back wall. Man, oh man, you want your back wall.
6 panels. You want 2 on your back wall, 2 on your front wall, 2 at the first reflection points. That's minimum, plus corner traps. Then
rug,
probably carpet. It's probably 2 more big panels. So we're all talking 4-inch thick, if you can. I mean, I don't see why not. It's a basement. Who cares what it looks like? 4-inch thick, 2 feet by 4 feet. And those are standard panels. You want probably 8 of those. 2 on your, 2 for first reflection points, 2 on the side walls, like, kind of behind you or next to your, I guess next to your chair will probably be where it ends up being. 2 on the back walls, 2 on the front walls. And corner trapping, those tri traps from Gick, or build corner traps, and whatever corners are available. All of them, if possible.
And once you do that, you very well might discover that the complement of speakers and AV receiver that you have is completely sufficient. Because there's nothing here that I'm like, oh, that's bad. You got to replace that. I'm like, all of these are very serviceable, very good. So, we might talk about the subwoofer and that, but being a rental, it's probably some restrictions on that at hand. He didn't mention...
You're so far away from worrying about buying new speakers when you have your receiver. You've got to fix that room before you do anything else.
If you want to know where you want to focus, it's the room. It's the room acoustics. If you have to do it freestanding, I'm really not opposed to that. Yeah, Tom is right. It costs more. But if you can knock down this reflection and echoing that's going on in your room, that is going to clean up your surround field. And you might discover that when the ceiling reflection isn't also reflecting off of everything else, that it actually sounds like it's coming from above you now, because it's a clean reflection that isn't being obscured by all the other reflections.
Right. Larry, a few episodes ago, we told Kyle G that using an extension cable for his Odyssey setup microphone is perfectly okay, but we warned that it should be mono 3.5 millimeter mono extension cable, whatever. So why does it have to be mono? Larry already owns the stereo extension cable, and he's in Canada. It was quite easy to find a super cheap cable. He found a 25-foot 3.5 millimeter mono extension cable on Amazon Canada for $15, which is fine and all, but for something he might literally use only once, even $15 as it seems a bit steep. Could he use a mono in stereo out adapter on the end of the Odyssey microphone, plug that into a stereo extension cable, and then use a stereo in mono out adapter? He can get those two adapters for under $1. It's a bit cumbersome, but would it work? Yes,
I think it should, but I'm slightly worried about signal level, ever so slightly.
It should work. I mean, it'll
function. I can almost guarantee it'll function. Whether it'll get your levels correct, I'm slightly concerned.
It will be all the way around. It will affect all the speakers equally. So maybe instead of calibrating to 75 dB, it's calibrating now to 77 dB or something.
Yeah. That's the only thing that gives me some pause.
I'm going to go with yes.
It'll function. It'll function. It'll work. Yeah.
For $2.
I mean, not even. Okay. I don't know if the shipping is free. This is from Pime Cables again. So these are monoprice adapters in Canada. But
still, for $2, I feel like it's worth trying.
I'd laugh if it's like $2 and $17 of shipping.
I feel like we've said that before. I feel like
sometimes that happens. So be careful. Make sure there's no shipping charge. But yeah, it'll function. I have a little inkling of a doubt if the levels will be absolutely right. But yeah, Tom is right. It'll affect all of them equally. So it shouldn't be a big deal. That should work. It should work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Benjamin has a 5.2.4 setup using a Denon AVR X4300H. Yay! To power his RBH Impression Series speakers and a center speakers. Fluence surrounds and 4 monoprice caliber in ceiling speakers, all AVRant recommendations. Make sure you told everybody that it was because of us. He'd like to expand to 7.2.4, so he needs at least 2 channels of external amplification. He was thinking he already has his old Onkyo TXNR636C, he's calling it old, receiver on hand. So could he use that? So if so, how does he go about making the connections and settings? And would it be possible to use an Onkyo receiver to power his left, center, right speakers up front? Or will he only be able to power 2 speakers with his Onkyo? Does it have
just stereo? It does not have multi-channel analog inputs. It just has, it has the stereo left-right inputs, of course.
So you can only use the 2, so that's fine.
Yeah.
You could do that.
There's a way you could fake getting the center, because you could tell your X4300H that you have no center speaker. So then it will evenly mix the center channel into your front left and right pre-outs. Then you could send the front left and right pre-outs into the Onkyo and then use, I don't know if it's still Dolby Pro Logic or if it's Dolby Surround Up Mixer in there, but what you would tell your Onkyo is that you only have left, center, right. Therefore, it's not going to try to create surround channels or something like that. You tell your Onkyo you only have left, center, right, and then it could matrix the center speaker, the center channel back out.
This will work.
I'm not a big fan of doing that either, but I'm saying that's how you could create left, center, right with the Onkyo, even though you can only have 2 channels being input to the Onkyo.
So what you want to do with your Onkyo is you want to set it up so that whatever channels you're powering with the Onkyo are coming from the pre-outs of your AV receiver, your other one, into the pre-ins, the stereo inputs of the Onkyo. Then you're going to set your volume to 0, or whatever the 0 equivalent is on the Onkyo, the reference volume. Set it right there. Put it in pure direct mode, and then plug the left and right into the stereo. Run the stereo
the front,
cable.
Left and right. Front left.
Yeah, the front left and right. Now I know they may be going to surrounds or Atmos. Doesn't matter. It's coming through the front left and right. To that, you never touch the volume on the receiver again.
That's right.
And
it's just acting as a dump amplifier at that point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you can 100% for sure use your Onkyo receiver as a 2-channel amplifier. You can absolutely do that. Power whatever pair of speakers you want with that Onkyo. You're just gonna tell the Onkyo, all I have is two speakers, the front, left, and right. That's all I've got. You're gonna set it to direct mode, set the volume once, never touch it again. It's a dumb amplifier now. It's a dumb 2-channel amp.
Right. Yeah, you could do the fake center, but I don't suggest that. It's just you have a dedicated channel for it, so you might as well, use it. I mean, you could have left and right going through your
AV front, left, and right.
That's the majority of what that would take a lot of the power requirements off of your current AV receiver. So if you're trying to save power or make sure that those two channels are getting as much power as they need, then it frees up extra, the rest of the power for your Atmos speakers, which we don't really need anyways. But yeah, so you could do that as well. But I would not try to do the fake center thing.
Yeah.
Christopher.
Oh no, we missed the second little
There's
part.
more?
He was a little bit worried about the wattage. Yeah.
Should he be at all concerned that his Onkyo is rated 95 watts per channel while the Denon is rated 125 watts per channel? Any reason to think the two different brands and amps will cause an audible difference between the speakers being powered by the Denon versus the speakers being powered by the Onkyo? No.
Nope. No concerns.
Christopher. I know you want us to say more, but if you're not driving your amp to distortion, there should be zero. I mean, Brent Butterworth even said it. Zero difference between these things. They all sound the same. They're gonna sound the same.
The 95 versus the 125. I mean, again, that's really only 2 channels driven. So the Onkyo actually is only driving 2 channels. You've got that full 95 watts per channel. The 125 per channel. I mean, even though you're not driving all 9 other speakers to full power simultaneously. Right. You're using some. You're not getting the full 125 into only 2 channels a lot of the time. So, that's a very small difference in actual wattage anyway, because it's not even a doubling of power, and a doubling of power is 3 decibels of extra headroom. So it's not even a doubling of power. It's a small difference to begin with, and you actually have the full 95 watts for the 2 that you're driving with the Onkyo. So it's completely insignificant.
And if you're thinking right now, hey, wait a second, why do people seem to care so much whether or not their receiver is 125 or 130 watts? Because people think bigger numbers are better, and that's why manufacturers list them. The reality is the difference between 95 and 125 is pretty minuscule. It's just a number. So don't worry about it. Christopher tends to look for deals in audio gear. At the moment, for his upstairs TV, he's been using a Z-Vox sound base, which I'm a fan of those. Those are pretty good sounding things. But one of his coworkers sold him a Sony STR DH750 AV receiver for next to nothing. So Christopher is looking for a pair of speakers to use with it. He'd eventually like to expand to 5.1 and beyond, but he'll do it a little at a time as deals come along. He's got his eye on a few. So which of the following should he pounce on? Here he goes. A pair of Celestion Model 1 bookshelf speakers for $60. Christopher sits about 12 feet away from the speakers, and his room is wide open on the right side, so he isn't too sure about the output and bass capabilities with these. Those look like they're part of a boombox. And what's the other option?
Oh, there's more coming, but just comments on these. I mean, they function just fine. I got no real problem with them. I've never heard them. I have no idea.
Def Tech 9020 Towers. He really likes these speakers and thinks they could potentially be his forever speakers, but he's a little concerned about whether the Sony receiver can actually power them in his setup. 12 feet away, I think he should be fine with these.
Yeah, the Sony's 75 watts per channel. I mean, 12 feet away, that should be no challenge. Those are fairly efficient. They're not like crazy high efficiently, but they're not low efficient by any means. I would have no worries about powering them with a Sony receiver.
The Yamaha RX A6670 or A870 receiver. Do we think we can make do with the Sony for a year or so? Would these Yamaha receivers be a big upgrade? If so, which is the higher value, the 670 or 870? Sony is 75 watt per channel. The 670 is 80, and the 870 is 100. And as we just discussed, the wattages don't mean nothing.
I mean, to me, it's mostly about HDMI inputs because the Sony that he has 4 inputs, the A670 has 4 inputs, and the A870 has 8 inputs. Do you need more than 4?
Yeah, because I don't think any other feature upgrade is going to be that big of a difference. I mean, it's going to have basic, I imagine.
They're all 7-channel.
Yeah. It's all going to be kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So right now, out of the things that you've talked about, the Def Techs make the most sense to me. The Celestion.
And I would have no problem using the Sony receiver that you
for a while.
have to just drive those. Yeah, no reason to get the AV receiver right now. The next AV receiver you buy should be once you're ready to go to the full Atmos setup.
Yes.
That should be the next AV receiver you buy.
SVS, he found their outlet store and really likes their stuff too. Thoughts? They're having a great sale on subwoofers right now. So
that's not imagine only a sub. I replaced my sound bar with a subwoofer and no front, left, right speakers. Just
you like jumping on deals. You like jumping on deals. This is a deal that is not going to be here for very long, and it may never come again. This is a crazy deal. So, I mean, consider that.
But I mean, the SVS speakers. I mean, those are very nice speakers. They're very.
I would be fine with you getting those as well.
Absolutely.
So for his permanent setup, he's thinking he wants to be in the $500 pair sort of price range. Any other suggestions for speakers at that price we think she should consider? Well, this guy's obviously okay with waiting, so I would consider waiting for the Impression Series 2 to come out and see what price points they are, because that would almost certainly be something he'd be happy with.
Yeah, that's RBH, by the way. RBH Impression Series. Yeah, we're still waiting on that second generation.
Then I would go to Accessories for Less and shop their KEF offerings over there and see if you find anything that you like that looks like something you would like there. The Focal Superbirds, perhaps. I don't know how much they cost, but they're $5.
No, they're right in there. Yeah, they're $250 each.
So that would be perhaps an option I would consider.
If you want wall mounts, wall mountable.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm going to throw a couple others. Aperian's Intimus series is certainly in here. The 5B would be some very nice bookshelves for under $500. Ascend Acoustics, the CBM 170 SEs are, I think they're $300 or $350 per pair. So that would certainly fit. And then ELAC too. ELAC, their Unify series, not even their entry-level debut series, their Unify series with the concentric drivers, that's available on Amazon at $500 a pair for the UB5s. There's lots of good options.
I think there's a clear winner here, though. I think there's a clear winner, and the clear winner is the Deftex. He thinks that they could potentially be his forever speakers. Why are we even discussing in the rest of the stuff? I mean, if you can afford them and you've got a deal on them or whatever, I would consider. I would push you to get the speakers that you love. All these other speakers, I am convinced that you would be happy with.
Oh yeah,
and maybe potentially love them more. Yeah. But you love these, so why not get the ones you love?
The only question is, maybe he loves them, but hasn't had a ton of listening experience. So out of the limited experience he has, those are the ones he loves, but he wouldn't mind expanding his experience because maybe there's something he likes even more. If that's the case, try some SVS and try some Aperian because free two-way shipping.
Yeah. I would do that. I would consider doing that either way.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you hear those two speakers and you say, "No, I love the Deftex way more,"
there you go. Yeah.
Then you're done. Because everything else in this price range is going to sound, from what that we recommend, is going to sound similar to those. Not more similar than dissimilar. Okay. The Deftex are probably going to have a greater potential to sound dissimilar than anything else that we're going to recommend. So if you listen to one or both of those two speakers and say, nope, Deftex 100%.
Yep.
Then get
now you're certain and off you go. Yeah.
Yeah. The rest of the stuff that you've suggested is either a questionable idea, like those, whatever speakers those were.
Celestions. Well, it's just because they're cheap. He found a deal. That's all.
I understand, but cheap is, you could get those still. Get those for surrounds. They'd probably be fantastic little surrounds.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why you didn't do that. And then you can use your Zvox as a censor. Get the Deftex.
I don't think it does that.
Why not?
Because it's a full
HDMI.
It's a sound bar thing. It's a sound base, so it does all the decoding and processing itself.
Oh, that's right. I thought maybe if it's got an analog input though, you could just
analog left right. Yeah.
Maybe. You can use it as a center, and then you get your Deftex, and then these other crappy speakers for surrounds, which will later
they're probably not even whatever. Probably good.
How do I don't know. They just don't look it. Okay. We got time for maybe one more. We'll see. Don has a Marantz SR7010. He intends to add a monoprice monolith 5-channel amp that's going to be about 8 feet away from the Marantz. So what cables should he use to connect the Marantz to the monolith? He doesn't believe in any kind of cable magic or any kind of magic cable. So what's a good option? Maybe you could order the cables from monoprice at the same time he orders the amp.
You sure could.
Yep. You should. There is, only thing you're really worried about is shielding. on because you're getting the RCA cables. You don't want to get like the super thin, crappy, left to right red ones that you get that come with your DVD player back in the day.
Probably
you don't want
anyway.
those. Honestly, you'll probably have no problems, but there's a chance, there's the slightest chance. But anything you order from Monoprice, you could go to Blue Jeans if you want to spend more, but their cables are absolutely 100% bulletproof. But they're going to be 8 feet away. Just get whatever Monoprice has to offer, and make sure you order enough cable. That's all.
Yeah, Monoprice has individual, so single, 10-foot coaxial audio-video cables. Now, people are going to look at that and it goes, these can be used for digital coax or subwoofers or composite video. Yeah, they'll also pass analog audio completely fine, because that's what RCA cables do. That is the least challenging signal out of all of these, would be analog audio. So their 10-foot coaxial audio-video cable costs a whopping $1.69 for one of them.
I don't know.
Now that's gonna be times 5. So we're getting up there. We're getting to almost like $8 here, but that's all you need. Their coaxial audio video cable. I mean, they have their stereo pair ones that are like $4 for the pair, but then they're stuck together as a pair. So I'd get the singles, $1.70 a piece.
I would totally get this one stuck together because you can pull them apart.
But they're also 30 cents more each.
Oh, if 30 cents more.
Why bother?
Why bother that? Andy, we're going to have to answer this one fast. In 8 minutes, I'm shutting this podcast down.
The other thing we could do is just answer Josh's, because this is super short.
Okay, let's skip to Andy. Andy, we got you next week. You're your first question next week.
Yes.
Josh is moving to a house with a giant wall of windows and is essentially no light control in the living room. What would we recommend for a 75-inch display that will work well under these? Oh, I just hit my whole computer. It'll work well under these conditions. Giant wall of windows, essentially no light control. You want something super bright.
75-inch, so that's significant.
75-inch. That's big, right? I don't think. Does Vizio even make a 75-inch?
Oh, they sure do. And there is their M series in a 75-inch, which is nice and affordable.
Yeah. Is it bright enough though? I don't know if it gets bright enough.
So it's pretty. I mean, the M series right now, the 2017 M series is significantly bright, but you got all these windows. I'm assuming in a large room like this, he's probably going to be off axis sometimes.
Yeah.
And they don't. They wash out pretty good off axis. My top choice. Okay, so if cost is no object, my absolute top choice for you would be the 75-inch Sony X940E, which isn't quite their flagship because they have the Z9D series even above that. But the 940E is full array local dimming. It's incredibly bright, and off angle. It's not too bad. Now, all LCDs off angle don't look as good as they do on axis, but Sony has managed to make it so that, yes, the blacks start turning a bit gray. Yes, the colors start dimming a bit, but the overall brightness of the image doesn't really, really look bad off axis like Samsung's current one. I don't know what Samsung is doing this year. If you're not head on to a Samsung this year, you're seeing like nothing. It's crazy. But the one I think makes the most sense for you is Sony's X900E, which are on sale right now.
Right. We talked about at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah. Now, they're not as inexpensive as the Vizios, but they're brighter and they're better off axis, which are two pretty significant things in this case, in my opinion. So
go price them and then figure out how much you care about how bright, the extra bit of brightness in the off-axis angle. If you're like, I always sit dead on, everybody else can go, jump out the window.
Right.
Then
the Vizio is the value choice.
The way to go. Yeah. But if you're care about other people's feelings for whatever reason, then you could get the Sony.
Yeah.
All right.
The Sony isn't incredibly expensive, but it's got some performance advantages that could make it worthwhile. Yeah.
All right, we're going to end this podcast. For the start, as always, we're going to thank our listeners of the week. We had Andry, James, and Tom for going to www.avrant.com and clicking on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link and leaving us a PayPal donation. Thank you, Andry, James, and Tom.
Yeah, Andry, James, Tom, thank you so much for those donations.
I also want to thank our 33 patrons, including Andy, who thinks we're worth $1 an hour, and James and Tom again. So thank you to our 33 patrons.
Yeah, so Andy, Tom, James, thanks for being patrons. And for the 30 other patrons, thank you so much. We really, really like that. I'm super happy about that whole Patreon thing. Patreon.com/AVRant Podcast.
James also went to Accessories for Less and talked us up over there, so thank you for that as well.
Yeah, congrats on the hat trick, James. We like that. That's lots of support. Thanks.
If you would like to get your question answered, all you have to do is ask your ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. We answer every question, mostly in order, except for this last guy. This time we had to skip him, but that's okay. We're going to get back to him. We answer every question. Even sometimes if you tell us you don't have to answer this on the podcast, we still answer it on the podcast, because if you asked it, someone else wants to know it. So ask your questions, and we will answer your question on this podcast.
And I almost want to feel like saying, you don't have to have Atmos, because we get an inordinate number of Atmos questions, and we are convinced that the rest of the world is not as into Atmos as if people only listen to this podcast, they would think that Atmos is ubiquitous, that everybody has it. Please do not feel like we are going to shun your question if you do not have Atmos. We would be completely okay with that.
I still technically don't have Atmos. I don't have any overhead speakers. I only have front heights. So
although we love the Atmos questions too. So please, by all means, keep sending those in too.
All right. For AV Rant, I'm Tom Andry.
And I'm Rob H. Now go out and listen to something.